Are you engaged in loving, caring, parasocial relations with several online personalities? Do you get all of your news from a single Floridian hobo? Personally, I follow the teachings of the real wandering prophet, but to each their own. However, if the answer to both of those questions was yes, then please, by all means, stop doing that. Firstly, there's only room in this town for like 3 more Hasanabi roleplay accounts max. Secondly, it's kind of destroying the internet. Most of you will have been made aware of the Dr. Disrespect and Ava Chris Tyson allegations by now, and as horrible as these situations are, I do have to pause here to declare myself the GOAT. We'll see how it stacks up at the end of the year, but my 2024 bingo card is looking pretty promising so far. I have no idea what compelled me to put this on the card, but I'm determined to beat the allegations that I unknowingly rewrote MrBeast's destiny. I'm a firm believer in fate, but I don't think a jury would be swayed by testimony invoking telltale game mechanics. I outright refuse to believe that a butterfly flapping its wings in Beijing had any effect on Chris Hansen's employment status in the mid-2000s. Anyway, besides the obvious, there was a disturbing pattern of behaviour that emerged across the 2 incidents. Once MrBeast had been implicated in this very public scandal, unsurprisingly, every blue checkmark on Twitter smelt blood in the water and started engagement farming, including this former MrBeast star who spent so long hammering home that Jimmy knew he forgot that his own brother-in-law, who got him hired at MrBeast in the first place, was convicted for preying on an 11-year-old. Besides the more blatant attention grabs, there were some individuals intent on drawing parallels between the 2 YouTubers' allegations. One such individual was the unstoppable force of reason, Sneako. Sneako lashed out at YouTubers and streamers like Moist Critical, Ludwig, and Pokimane, suggesting that they were reacting differently or not at all to the Ava Chris Tyson allegations than they had concerning Dr. Disrespect. The suggestion was that they were doing this to either avoid burning bridges with MrBeast and his YouTube empire, or as a political move due to Ava Tyson being a transgender woman.
Yo, look out, Moist Critical is not gonna go talk about the Chris situation because he wants to have the MrBeast collab. Stop coping and be a journalist if you're gonna be a journalist, or just say that you wanna have the collab. Stop lying.
Sneako is certainly an interesting person to be thrusting himself into the limelight of a child predator scandal, seeing as he has gone on the record multiple times to say he should be able to marry a 12-year-old and that the age of consent in the West is too high.
If the families have consented, the kid is mature, the kid is ready, why should I stop it?
At 12 years old. At 12 years old.
If the kid is physically mature, the parents consent, both parties are happy.
A 12-year-old being physically mature.
Following this, virtually all of the personalities he mentioned debunked his claims of them treating the situations differently or offered explanations as to their late reaction. But all of this begs the question, do they actually owe us an explanation? Why does it matter what Pokimane thinks about such a serious topic? And should we be encouraged to demand responses to every event that befalls the YouTube ecosystem? Obviously it's nice to hear that Ludwig Agren doesn't fuck with pedos, but should I feel the need to demand he say that unequivocally? What I'm getting at is that the internet seems to have an increasingly unhealthy obsession with what different creators are thinking or saying, or not thinking or saying about different situations. Take these series of tweets which are essentially complaining that people like Critical aren't expressing fringe, controversial beliefs about pedophilia on the same channel they taste test dog food. As for the whole MrBeast Ava Tyson situation, Ludwig was apparently on holiday abroad as the news broke, and in between the matter of days it took for him to respond, people acted as though 9/11 was currently happening and CNN was airing Mr. Bean instead. I don't know who needs to hear this, but you shouldn't have to wait for your favorite commentary YouTuber to talk about something before you are able to form your own opinions on the matter. Inversely, you also shouldn't expect influencers to have comprehensive public statements prepared for when one of their distant colleagues molests a child. It's almost certainly better that they do address these issues in the community, but acting like the Rothschilds are money spreading for Pokimane to prevent her from calling MrBeast a pedo on Twitter is insane. In the midst of all of this, substantial accusations were fired at one of YouTube's biggest mainstays, Cody Ko, which of course resulted in the masses taking to Twitter and demanding that every YouTuber releases their thoughts on the matter unless they wanted to be branded an essay apologist. Personally, I actually don't care what Ryan's Toy Reviews thinks about Cody Ko's illicit relations with minors, but I have to say, his silence is very telling. Of course, many YouTubers were quick to distance themselves from Cody, as you would expect, but Cody himself has still not publicly released an acknowledgement of the situation, besides a notice to the podcast his studio promotes, explaining he will no longer be part of the day-to-day operations. This radio silence was something of a snooze fest for the parasitic worms wriggling around in the average Twitter user's brain, and so the demand for responses quickly fizzled out in favour of the classics, such as race-swapping unsuspecting white women. Elsewhere, the feeding frenzy caused by the hit to MrBeast's reputation continues, with dozens of videos a week being released containing newer and increasingly less scrutinised reasons to stop watching his content. Bizarrely, at one point the investigation spotlit Chandler, who for years appeared at the forefront of MrBeast's content as one of the fan favourites. Many people were asking how he fits into all of this, and as with many things, the answer lay with the Lord. Turns out Chandler is enjoying a quiet and pious life, reading daily passages from the Bible to his audience on TikTok. How people managed to farm a whole 22-minute video about how a guy literally called Chandler Hallow rocks with Jesus is beyond me, but people were clearly interested. So, what can the average Joe Schmo do to help this tricky situation? Well, primarily just get off Twitter in general. More accurately, try to avoid rewarding figures who put out incendiary and baseless accusations about another person's stance on something before they've had a chance to respond themselves. But, to be honest, if I'm saying anything, it's that YouTubers' opinions on things don't matter all that much in the long run. And when accusations like this come to light, they rarely have anything interesting to say about the issue anyway, because, shocker, most people don't like sex offenses.
Listen. You know, I dislike sexual assault as much as the next guy. That's some bad stuff. Rape, boo, don't like it. But...
Anyway, that's pretty much everything I had to say on the topic. If you disagree with anything I said in today's video, feel free to Twitch whisper me with your thoughts, or leave your favourite Chandler Bible verse reading in the comments below. I read them all. Thank you all for watching, subscribe for more like this, and stay greasy, friends.